So, welcome to another installment of The One Good Road. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, and I thought to myself that I'd like to do one to give a bit of an update. Maybe this could be the future format for when I can give updates to the channel. Um, because I feel that a lot of the time in a lot of my videos that I post now, I'm not really able to talk to you guys as like a normal kind of average person. I feel like I've got to also make sure my videos are nice and tight and clean and to a certain standard. And I kind of do need sometimes something a bit more low key, a little bit more chill. So this is unscripted talk. It's just a podcast, and I'm going to put it in the podcast playlist. I'm actually going to use it this time. I do have previous videos, but they're the podcasts are usually with video, so this one will just be straight audio. And I thought I'd just give you an update to what's been going on, maybe in my life, but also what's been going on with the channel, where I can see its direction at the moment, which could be interesting for some people, maybe not so much for others. And just a general vibe as to, like, I tried doing this podcast while riding, and it works, but I find that I actually kind of need a moment to like really sit down. And sometimes walking can work as well, and riding can work, but I just find that right now I need to sit down and really kind of just have a chat about what's been going on, and giving a general update. So as you might have well seen, I'm doing a lot more product reviews on the channel. I'm receiving products from companies, and I have been getting into electric bikes and solar systems and anything electric that allows me to be more off grid. And this is becoming a theme for the channel. You might have noticed that's currently a bit of the direction. Just so that people are aware, I still love to camp. I still love the outdoors. I still do bike packing. I still do backpacking. I just do it, I would say, less frequently than I used to do it. So I'm doing it much more casually. I'm not even sure what the numbers would be. Maybe it would just be like once every few months or something like that, or I'm not really sure. By the way, this will be pretty much unedited. I'm just gonna clip out a couple bits if I say something completely wrong and inappropriate by accident. But for the most part, this will be just raw audio. I'm recording this on a new phone. I'm curious what that sounds like. I don't really know yet. And essentially, I still do a lot of this bike packing and backpacking. So I did a trip to the coast with a friend of mine, and we just rode to the Mediterranean, came back. That was like a couple of months ago now, I think. And then the most recent one, I went to the mountains in the Pyrenees, not far from where we live. It's like always in our point of view, and we live in the foothills. And we took the e-bikes to a friend's house. We left the e-bikes in a safe, secure location, and then we went to do a backpacking trip for 4 days in the mountains. And it was lovely. I mean, it was bloody hot, I will say. It was like 32 degrees, and if you're on a mountain and it's 32 degrees, not super easy. It's pretty tough. But the views were really nice for a few of the days. And I actually liked how we had a really cloudy day for the first day of the hike. And we did this. And it proved to me that e-bikes are really useful in the right setting. That's what's really interesting about them. And I'd like to get into that, about what my feeling is about e-bikes, because there is quite a lot of skepticism around the idea of e-bikes and their general placement and what people feel about them. Some people are really into them. Some people are like, that's fine, that's cool. And then other people are just completely on the opposite end against them. I will say I felt like, even though I worked in an e-bike shop for a bit in Perth, in Australia, I felt that I I still feel like, oh, I'm not really sure that this is going to be, for me, and it seems to just remove all of the effort out of riding. But the thing is, you have to look at it from a different point of view. You can't look at it from like, oh, I've just ridden across a country, or I can get to my work and back and it's 40 kilometers and I'm doing just fine. And I've got a shower there, I can clean myself when I get there, and blah, blah, blah. In different situations, that will not be as easy. Maybe you have a knee injury or a foot injury, or you just recovered from some kind of sport that you had to have surgery for, or you have to, I don't know, go to work and it's really time specific and you have to get there at a specific time. Maybe they don't have showers there. Maybe you want to have an alternative to a car and you want something that's kind of in between. Whatever the reason is, there's usually a placement for an e-bike. For me, I love the fact that I can carry a lot of weight onto an e-bike, and then I can ride pretty much at the same speed, if not faster, than what I'd normally do without the e-bike, without the electric assistance. And I would say that for me, an e-bike is very comparable to kind of like how an acoustic instrument, because I play guitar and I've been doing that for a few years, and acoustic guitars, they sound brilliant on their own. They don't need amplification. But if you amplify them, you can also play with the sound. You can make it reverb, you can make it sustain longer. It helps you play and express yourself more clearly. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it all the time, purely electric, all the time with no acoustic feel. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I would say that an e-bike or an electric bike is kind of the same principle. It's giving you a boost on a lot of these things, and I would definitely use it for certain routes and things that I would normally not use it for, like a regular bike. For example, riding to the mountains and back, and riding to the mountains in one day on the way back after a grueling hike for like 4 or 5 hours with like 20, or no, it wasn't 20, it was like 10, 12 kilos or whatever on your back, and it just being able to hop onto an e-bike and then ride back home with little to no effort and get back in a couple hours. I mean, this is not super feasible with a regular bike. It's like, I would, in that situation, I would say, well, I would prefer to maybe wait tomorrow and then take it. So the thing is, not only does the e-bike allow you to have a bit of a boost, but it's basically just speeding things up for you. And yet you still can do some exercise on an e-bike, which I was really surprised. You can still put through energy. So whenever you put through energy, you basically reduce the wear and tear that you're doing to the battery. Because as you use the e-bike, technically you're using the battery, and batteries aren't going to last for like, maximum they might last you 10 years or so, or 15 years, and eventually they'll lose that 85% capacity. But the thing is, it depends how much you ride, depends how you ride, what you're doing with it, and there's too many factors there. But my point being is that it just gives you another option, it gives you another perspective, and I do love it for that. I'm just loving getting into it. It's for me kind of a bit of a breath of fresh air to kind of do something with a bike that I was just not doing before for so long. It's really like playing a classical guitar for ages, and then suddenly you put a pickup in it and you're like, oh, I can make these sounds? Oh, that's really nice. And that's way, way easier to play. Oh my God. So there are circumstances where I want less difficulty to express myself, and the bike, the e-bike, the electric bike, is very similar in that regard. If you just want to have fun and have a mode of transport that's much quieter and much better for the environment than a scooter, it's a really good middle ground, and you're still not going super fast. I would say the speed limits on e-bikes are they need to be updated and modified, I think, in my opinion. If you live in a rural area, it just doesn't make sense to have a 25 km/h speed limit. There's constantly moments where I'm going downhill and you're going above 45 an hour. To me, it makes no sense, especially in a rural area where you've got a big straight road sometimes, hardly any traffic. It doesn't make sense. You want to travel these distances in a reasonable time frame, and it's perfectly safe, if not similar safeness, I would say, security. Even if you're going at faster speeds, it really depends on the rider, but there are obviously ways that you can go faster. You just have to register your vehicle as a vehicle and get insurance. But anyway, I'm just saying that generally I think that the limit needs to be rethought. From a safety point of view, I can understand why there's a limit in the city. But in a rural setting where there's like nothing, like in terms of you've got a big open road or you're on a small little road, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. It's very illogical, and especially when you're in a hilly environment, the 250-watt motor system doesn't make sense. I mean, if you're on a bike that weighs like, I don't know, 8 kilos, then a 250-watt motor will be amazing. It will give you a boost like somebody's riding the bike for you. But as soon as you apply a steep gradient and some weight onto your bike, like you're carrying your shopping, you start to slow down a lot, and you need to have a bit more wattage just to push the heavier bike further up. So it's invented by people who don't fully understand how e-bikes work, and they're pure. The only way they're looking at it, I think, is from the city point of view, and not people in rural areas, like whether you're on a farm or far from the city. Anyway, I digress. So I find that for me, e-bikes are quite revolutionary in the fact that you can get to work, or you can get to your gig, or you can go shopping or get to a mate's place, and you can just feel a bit more free. You can feel a bit more relaxed. It is something that for me can be as relaxing as riding, like driving in a car, or sitting in a car. I prefer, and if I had a choice and it's good weather, I would prefer the e-bike, because I enjoy that sensation of being outside and feeling the wind and feeling the sun on your skin. I don't really want to always be in a car. It's very boring for me. If it's raining and you have to get somewhere, like you need to go to the hospital or whatever, of course, I'm not saying we have to replace cars with all cars with e-bikes. It's not the solution. It's like for one household or one village or whatever, you need 1 or 2 cars, and that's it for everybody. And then we just share them. And then everybody else in a utopia world would use a regular bike or an e-bike. And by the way, I take the battery sometimes off the bike, so you're basically riding a regular bike again. And it's still pretty lightweight. If I was touring, I'd probably take the motor off as well, and it depends. It's ideally, if I had the money for it, I would have one bike that's a regular bike and then another bike that's an e-bike, and then you just kind of rotate between the two whenever you need it. There's loads of use cases where it really can make a difference and make quite an impact on your life in a good sense. And especially when you're charging it from solar, I mean, it basically costs you next to nothing to run, which is amazing. I mean, it's just mind-blowing that we're in the future. We're able to charge a bike with electricity that comes from the sun. I mean, it's mind-blowing. I mean, if you're already charging your phone, you might as well get some power to charge your battery on an e-bike. I encourage people to have one in their collection of bikes and then just give it a try. You can check out the links actually for the Yo's Power conversion kits, which I'm sure this is not a video. This is not meant to be a podcast where I, say to people, go to this link and blah blah blah. But I'm genuine about this product that Yo's Power is offering a really decent money, really decent value for money e-bike conversion kit, which is definitely more cheaper than going the route where you buy an e-bike. So if you have a regular bike that you can convert, it is going to save you some money, and you have more flexibility with all the parts that are compatible with each other, and you can swap things around. And anyway, that's my 2 cents on the e-bike stuff at the moment. I think it is quite amazing what you can do with them, as long as you know what you're going to do with them and experiment, and just have something where you have something for a chill day, and then other days when I want some sport, I just take the battery off, or I ride a regular bike, or I go for a run. If I want some mega sport, go and do some mega sport. Bikes aren't necessarily just only about sport. You can also just transport yourself somewhere. It can be simple, Anyway, I digress. So the e-bike has been quite an impact at the moment. And you've noticed probably that I've received quite a few requests or quite a few products recently that I've posted on the channel. The reason being is because companies write out to me, and I'm like, they say to me, do you want to review this and exchange, you do a video? I'm like, okay, I'll just, if it's a good product. I don't want to just, for example, I had one company that wrote to me called Duo TTS, very strange brand name. And they asked me, so are you interested in reviewing one of our e-bikes? And I said, yes, it looks good. It looks good for the money. It was a 750 watt motor, which is way above the EU limit. It was with a 1-year warranty. The company looked pretty new. And I had some questions. So I asked them, some pretty honest questions, like, so when was your company founded? Because I'm like, a lot of companies in China will start up and then just fail, and then they will restart up again. So I was a little bit like, is this another one of those restart companies? Or, why does it have a 1-year warranty? That's nothing. That's not enough to cover something like a bicycle, where things could go wrong or something could go faulty within 2 or 3 years, and that's quite common. So I was like, okay, what's going on here? Can we at least extend the warranty? They didn't reply to any of my answers, or they didn't reply to any of my questions, should I say. And that shows you, hopefully, that I am asking serious questions, and I won't review something that's just kind of garbage. Basically, I want to receive things which are genuinely good value for money, and we have to be respectful that it still costs something to make these things, and sometimes you will get defective products occasionally. It's how the company responds to you as a customer, and how they want to genuinely fix that and treat you with respect because you paid good money for that item, and that's what matters. So Yoast Power have been so far really excellent value for money for so far. I will say I've ridden 600 kilometers with the kit, and I plan to do a review after 1,000 to see how I will say that the wheel needed a bit of tensioning, in case anybody's interested in that. And apart from that, it's been pretty good sailing so far, and we'll just see how it is in the future. I don't really know, but that's so far how it's going with the system, and I will see how the company. For example, I asked them about a query I had, like, I have a part that needs replacing on this. There was a part that needed replacing, long story short, and they said, well, yeah, we can just send you out this part, and they just did it. And for me, that is really the essence of good customer service. So when you receive good feedback from them, that's a good sign that they're actually listening and that they respond to your requests. And you have to be reasonable. Obviously, they can't send you out a completely brand new kit, because that costs the company money. It depends it depends on too many factors. But I am genuinely looking for products that are, I will say, just as if you've made it this far into the podcast, a lot of these products, I would highly, any of the ones I've reviewed on the channel, make sure you do your research on where else you could find them, because the companies will obviously prefer if you can go to their website and just buy it directly from them, not go through a third-party vendor like Amazon. That's why I don't even use Amazon affiliate links, because they don't work for me personally. So for me, I think it's important to know that there's other websites also, like AliExpress. It's worth having a look at. At the same time, I can't say in the video that, oh, you can find this product cheaper on AliExpress. You have to do your own research, and I would prefer to be more guiding into where you can get the best value product. But the price does change a lot on AliExpress. It hops around quite a bit, jumps around a lot. And just keep it in mind that, the companies will prefer if you go straight to their store. Sometimes I can say so far, sometimes it's a brilliant value straight from the store. Other times I'm like, why can I get the same product cheaper on AliExpress? Kind of strange. But the downsides on AliExpress is you do have some major downsides. For example, you get 15 days to test the product, versus if you buy it straight from their website, they might say, oh, you can have a 30-day test trial, and then if it doesn't work, you can send it back. So there's stuff like that where you need to look out for. AliExpress is really a hit or miss, and so is Amazon these days. They've also become littered with like so many brands that have just popped up now, and we as consumers have to be much more diligent to what is a good value product, and you have to really read through reviews, and you just hope that it's going to be a decent company. And at the same time, they're offering really good value for money, most of the time. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on the matter. Just keep in mind that when I am doing video product reviews, and I will be still being objective and honest as I can be, but at the same time, we all need to put some food on the table. And if companies are willing for me to test their products and I keep the review units, I mean, this is brilliant for certain projects and stuff like that, where you need to look at how much is this going to cost to build this project, and if one of those items can be received via a sponsorship, well, I'm going to try and make that work, basically. So just keep that in mind, and I'm still wanting to be as honest as I can be and objective as I can be. And keep an eye out in the comments to see if I tell in the future, oh, this product actually within 3 months had something which happened to it. So keep an eye in the comments. That's where I'll be giving more of an update on how the product was. I will say with FossyBot, there was an issue with some of the USB ports, and I will say that the company did their best to send me out another unit, but I will say that the USB ports would probably need to be looked at for their future models, let's say. That they work, but sometimes they periodically just turn themselves off. And I still think it's an excellent value for money. Like, you're getting really good value for money, even with that being said. But just keep that in mind. It's a really hard balance to supply what companies are looking for, and that's why I feel like I can be more honest actually when I do a podcast, because it's going to be a lengthy piece of content. I can give you more detail, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to be more objective and honest, and I think that should be a better balance as well. And I don't really need opinions on the matter. I think we've all got to do what we've got to do to put some bread on the table, so to speak. And I'm still going to be as honest as I can be, but I'm being honest with you now. It's like, keep in mind that YouTube has just become littered with endless, like, click me, click this, clickbait, and I'm having to play that game just to keep the ball rolling. It's annoying. I wish that I did not have to do that. I genuinely would prefer a YouTube with less clickbait and more about information and products, and where when you received a product request to do, where you actually can give your full honest opinion about it and objective. But this is a bit of a utopia sense, really. In the end of the day, there's margins to pay and there's profits coming in, and people have to have their paychecks met. So this is just keep that in mind. But I still think everything I've gotten so far is still very good value for money. You are saving money pretty much on everything that you look at on my channel. And I will be always trying to find the best prices and keep an eye out for when I can mention those things. And I genuinely feel that the Yo's Power One is a pretty good value for money, and it works really well. And so in other news, I think that's most about what I wanted to share, to be a bit more honest about the products that I receive. And you can kind of see the direction of the channel really at the moment. It's being more leaning towards off-grid living, outdoor life, and I've still got the documentaries if you want to take a blast from the past, so to speak. But I just have a different. I'm in the slow living now. I'm not traveling as far afield as I used to, and I am trying to find a sort of sense of inner peace, which is easier said than done. And I've literally got a mosaic in front of me that's going through all of these beautiful pictures of the Pyrenees, and it's reminding me that there's a lot of beauty where I'm living. And I know I'm far from places where a lot of activities do happen, like in the big city, but I've never enjoyed those environments really. I like how the interactions are really like spicy and juicy, but at the same time some of it's so shallow and it doesn't go deep enough for me. And I just find, well, I can spend my time contemplating and going into those deeper levels, elsewhere, and there's a lot more peace there's a lot more peace in general, tranquilité, in the countryside and in the rural areas of the world. There's more peace of mind, but the internet is what's connecting us right now. These days, it's like a really, it's quite a strong connection. And I've been quite scared to like put content out there at the moment because I just feel like it's so heavily judged these days, and it's like I said, I've already shared this in another video, but YouTube is going in a direction that just does not. I don't enjoy how it's just purely about statistics and numbers and how much money you're making, and I see all of that behind the back end. I can see all of the numbers and the data. I can see like the e-bike video. For some reason, it's everybody above 50 years old. I don't know why. It's bizarre. And it shows me demographics. It shows me where you're from, and it's just becoming very analyzed. And I prefer something a bit more. I don't really know I like rustic stuff, and I like being off grid. I like simplicity. I like living a stress-free life as much as I can. But at the same time, this channel still functions amazingly after all these years, and it still brings in some money just to put some food on the table. So if that's doing that, I will. And if I still am providing content that's actually genuinely helpful to the average viewer, the average person looking for something. Like I'm literally about to edit a video for a solar panel that I bought with my own money. Funded via you guys watching these videos, which is kind of funny. And the panel is a 130 watt panel from EcoWorthy. I'm gonna give my 2 cents on what I think of that panel, and it's it's a thing. I have to keep the ball rolling, and sometimes I just need a break from that. It becomes a job, and we don't get paid well enough for what we're doing. In general, YouTube creators, we get paid like pennies, which is ridiculous. And it's a little bit unequal, I would say, in terms of the higher When people have a higher income coming in, well, this even relates to economy, doesn't it? But anyway, nevertheless, it's just something to keep in mind that I'm still human and I'm still living a life. I'm still, trying to do stuff out of the box, a bit different. And like when I've got a solar panel on the back of my bike, which is another project I've been working on, people look at me funny and they chat to me. They're like, "What are what is that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm different, and I like that." And I think I'm always going to be a little bit different. I mean, ever since I left school, it really changed my life. And I'm not trying to condone that people should all just quit school. I'm not saying that at all. I just took a different path. That's all. And it's got pros and cons to it. I'll say it like that. Anyways, it's not really. I'm probably getting a bit too deep into the weeds right now. But I'll leave it at that for an update. I'll see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Keep an eye out for the solar bike project because I think that's quite fun. I just like how it's just different and fun, and it's super lightweight and efficient. It's being charged by the sun. I just think it's really cool. And I'm really curious if there are any other companies out there that resonate with the content that I'm putting out there. I'm still doing my music, but behind the scenes. But I'm sure that doesn't really interest the majority of people on this channel, as I've already seen, which is why I've just been cutting music out completely because I'm not really sure the two are really seeing the value in either one. So for me, it's just easier if I do my music thing as I do and how I feel and just via my passion. And then I keep that in its one bubble, and then in the other bubble, I'm also a cyclist that likes to be off grid and likes e-bikes and stuff like that. And it's something that's what's happening these days is people are being shoved into boxes all the time, and I don't really see it as it can't be that simple, really. Trying to always segregate things and make it easier, but it just kind of sometimes is a bit gray. Sometimes there are colors between other colors, and sometimes we fit in between those, So sometimes it's okay to be just a little bit different, Sometimes it's what makes meals different is when you have something different with it, Anyway, kind of digressing. Hopefully that's informative as to where I'm at the moment. I wonder what you think of this style. I listen to a lot of podcasts to practice my French anyway, because I live in France because of Brexit. So thanks a lot, Brexit. Stay tuned for whatever comes out next. Let me know what you think of this style. I'm sure it will not get anywhere near the viewerships that my other ones do, and that's fine because it's meant to be a podcast, and it's in that little bubble there. Let me know what topics might interest you for another one if you made it this far. Probably not a lot of people probably get this far because we're all got very short attention spans now, which is really be careful with this, Sometimes it's important to really actually genuinely spend your time learning and listening and developing something. You can't learn everything in just 1 minute on like a YouTube short, or TikTok. It's just, I think those websites are just dangerous, personally. Anyway, have fun pedaling, spending time out in nature, get off grid. It's totally worth doing. Even if you get like your own shed off grid, it's totally worth doing. And have a look at those links if they're useful to you. And that's about it. And we'll see you in another podcast, maybe. We'll see.